在职场上最基本的技能就是能说出一个非常专业的 self-introduction. But what is a good intro and what is a great intro? 那今天就让我们来一起跟同学学习最生动的 self-introduction.Hello， 欢迎来到 Executive Plus 主管与沟通力的 Podcast。I'm Sherry, an educator, certified coach, and style enthusiast. 我相信专业有效的沟通是语言跟逻辑的完美结合。
And I'm Nick, a startup consultant, corporate trainer, and late-night gaming junkie. I believe great communication requires the right mindset and solid frameworks.
我们希望带给大家职场英语的技能、跨文化沟通技巧与其他能帮助您成为出色领导者的工具。
Join us each week as we share our experience, research, and methodologies to take your communication and language skills from good to great. Hey everybody, welcome back to another Executive Plus podcast. Now, it's getting close to the end of the year, and we thought it was time to bring you another live lesson. So today, we're lucky enough to have a good friend, Morris, come and join us. So welcome, Morris.
Hi,
Welcome.
Thanks for inviting.
Morris 是非常可爱的小弟弟，对我来讲是小弟弟。他非常可爱，然后他可以来试试看我们这个 live lesson。很多听众都很喜欢我们的 live lesson。那今天的 topic 我觉得会帮助到非常多的人，因为这个一定是每一个人都要遇到的，也就是一个 self-introduction， 而且是在工作的环境之下。
Now, Morris, you're actually telling us about a really interesting activity that you went to this weekend. I think that a lot of people would like to hear a little bit more about this. So before we jump in directly into our live lesson, why don't you just tell, what did you do this weekend?
Okay. I attended an activity that held it by Taipei government, and it is called Open Taipei. So basically, it opens different places for people to visit and to see what is inside. So normal people can't go in these places like government office or city arena. We can't go to backstage at any time. But in this activity, it opens these places and citizens can go inside and see the environment, the structure, and what the officers do in these areas. Mm-hmm.
Now, was this your first time to do this?
No, this is my second year, and it's fun, and I think I will do it another year.
This is something you did with friends, or there was a lot of new people to meet while you were there?
Oh, I do it with my friends, and my friend major in architecture. So when we go to a new environment or a new buildings, he will explain some details or informations to me.
Usually, how many people go on this tour?
It's usually like 10 to 15 people a team.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then of those 10 to 15 people, you probably don't know everyone, right? You're just like new people who are really interested in this type of activity. Okay. How did you feel about the introductions? Do you think they were insightful or?
I think they're professional in some part, like some of them have experience in architect or some of them are experienced in performing. So they know the architecture side of the building or how the office works. So tutorial is good, and we think it's a great opportunity to learn more about the place we don't know about.
Oh, okay. Well, we suggest that if people get a chance, they can look it up. You said it was Open Taipei?
Yes, Open Taipei.
One of the reasons I think this is interesting is just a lot of times when people think about self-introduction, they think about a very formal occasion, right? So maybe like, again, you go in there for each building, someone's responsible, they probably introduce themselves, their experience, and maybe a bit about the building. But also that opportunity of when you're just out, you see a new group of people, you someone might just turn to you and go, oh, why did you come here? And what do you do? Why are you interested in this kind of thing? That's another big opportunity to do self-introduction.
没错，像我们做自我介绍有很多种形式，通常我们在练习的时候，我们都会来比较 formal 一点，我们比较正式。但是我们有很多的情况是我们必须，比如说做点 networking activity， 或者你平常在 weekend 就像 Morris 一样去参加一些活动，这个时候你也需要做一点自我介绍，那顺便来做一点 networking 嘛。那我们这样子的 self introduction 到底应该要怎么做才能比较好呢？
So today, we actually want to work a bit on self-introduction. Now, we have Morris here because he actually works next door to us for another friend's company. But a lot of times we end up cross-promoting each other and talking about what we do. So we wanted to get a better sense of how Morris and how our friend's team and company likes to talk about themselves. So Morris was kind enough to come in and work with us today and share a bit about what he's doing. So we asked you to just ahead of time prepare a typical self-introduction. Again, we're not judging, we're just curious, when you think self-introduction, what does that usually sound like? Could you just give us a brief, like kind of 30-second elevator pitch type self-introduction?
Okay, sure. Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Morris. I work as a junior user interface designer at Able Studio for about 2 years. Our team provides great interaction solutions between people and digital products, such as apps or websites. From personal devices like smartphones, PC, to self-checkout machines you can see in supermarkets. People nowadays are surrounded by so many devices, it can get a bit overwhelming when having so many features to learn on the screen. So what we do is to help people get things done at ease by creating aesthetic interface design with curated digital experience. Thank you for your time.
All right, excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So when you're thinking about who you would talk to with this introduction, what's the kind of person you have in mind?
I think when I speak this kind of self-introduction, I'm speaking with someone who is interested with the service our company has provided. Like when some company has something they want to promote online, or some companies with their older websites they want to revise, they want to keep updated. I will speak this kind of introductions to tell what we do and briefly let them know our values, what we can offer.
I mean, I like it. I really like your introduction. And it is very much your company's introduction, right? It's very company or your service heavy. And 我觉得这个专门就是好像在介绍你公司的产品跟服务的一个 introduction. So what do you think, Nick?
Again, I think all the pieces are really interesting. There's a few things that I would get into there to modify a little bit. Number one is, for you, when joining this company and joining this team, what do you think is your sort of superpower? Or what's the special thing that you want to offer this team? Or what is it that your client will get by working with you as opposed to, say, a colleague or someone else in the company?
对，就是跟你，因为我觉得在这个 self introduction 我们听到比较多是公司，那 self introduction 包括你 you are the one that we wanted to talk to. So as Nick said, what is your superpower when you come into this company? What can you offer that nobody else can offer?
Talk about my superpower.
Talk about your superpower. It's like even when you talk about design. When you think of design, what's an angle, or it's like, what's the feeling you want to create with design? Right? Because designers all have sort of different thought processes. For you, when you think, what's good design? What does that mean to you?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I can offer a great interface that helps our clients to serve their problems with like clear visuals or colors that provides a vibrant look to fit their brands.
Oh, okay.
And Cecily, 好难哦这个。I think what I can offer in my company is to design a great visual for our clients and analyze their brand and find what visual that can suit their brands and seize the opportunity to find other customers for them.
So you kind of like help them enhance their own brand, right? I mean, I've worked with a lot of companies, right? Typically, they have a lot of ideas in their head, but they don't know actually how to like make it or make it stand out and be clear. But a really good designer, whether it's graphic design or interface design, actually knows how to help sort of enhance what's in their head already.
Yes. So besides designing, I usually sort out information that provided by our clients, and we will think how to put them on our website we are going to do, and what information should our clients see when they first visit to this website. So this is really important for us when designing a website to keep customers' attention on our products.
Okay, so a lot of like gathering information, but organize them in a way so that it is very vivid on the website and it catches the attention of their clients.
You know, the right things, the right products, the right services immediately grab attention, right?
Yes.
And I think this is interesting because inside your self-introduction, your original, you also kind of talk about this as like people get overwhelmed by having so many features or so many pieces on the screen. So it sounds like it's not just the company's thought process, but it's your own thought process that it needs to be more like, I think you talk about an aesthetic interface design, a curated digital experience, but it's not just like everything that's in your head we put on a website, right?
Yeah. So this part, I wrote this part because I have some personal experience that I found it when I talked to my grandmother. So she recently got a new cell phone and she's trying to connect with our family members, but she often has many problems with the apps she used. Like she can't pick up the phone or she's blocked, her screen was blocked by an advertisement. So she will call me for help. And this gave me this idea or the thought that when designing an interface nowadays, we should care about everyone who are using these devices. And no matter the age, we should design products that suit everyone's needs.
I think that's such a cute story. And that's a story that you can definitely tell in your self-introduction.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because that's just like my eyes just opens because that's so sweet. And that is the problem, right? I think everyone can relate to that problem.
Yes.
I think that we're getting a better sense of, again, that more personal touch to your self-introduction. So then we can also narrow it down is if you wanted someone just to understand one key idea about your company, about Able Studios, what would be that key idea that you would want someone to think about the company?
Can this key idea be like digital experience?
Yeah, it can be a curated digital experience. Could you define that a little bit or explain to us what about a digital experience or a curated digital experience? Why is that important? Or can you talk a little bit about what that means to you?
In my perspective, a good digital experience can provide what people need. And people don't need to really learn about these products. When people see it at the first glance, they should know what they are gonna do or what service the product provides. So you can imagine a clear interface that gives simple functions. So no matter who the audience are, these apps can provides what they need in the most simple way.
So no matter what the age or who the audience are, basically they can find what they're looking for.
Yes.
Right. Very quickly and efficiently.
Yes.
Okay. 那我这边很简单的给大家一点 recap。那我们刚刚问了 Morris 他一些比较 personal， 他来到这个公司，他能够带给公司什么样子比较特殊的服务，还有他本身的小 story。还有呢，我们也问了他，他觉得他的公司能够带给客户什么。那我们今天呢，就来帮助 Morris 呢，来做一个更是 Morris 的 self introduction.
So,I really think that even from the very beginning, you've had all the right pieces there.
Yeah.
We just wanted to add a little bit about you, and then we're going to intertwine. Now, one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got for writing a speech actually came from Andrew, who a lot of our listeners have listened to before. It's a trick that he used for a long time in his own speech writing, but also...It's something that, if I remember right, he told me he actually also got back from his Toastmasters days. And it's a really simple piece of advice, which is try to identify one word that you can use to connect a lot of the ideas within your speech. And that when you can come back and use this kind of one word over and over again, it sort of fits all the pieces together.And so when I'm listening to your self-introduction and your introduction of Able Studios, the company you're working with, the one thing that stays in my head, and this doesn't have to be your self-introduction, you can think in a world, is actually the word connected, which means is when you're talking about, again, what's your special power, what's what you do for the client, is you actually help connect the client's brand with either the website or the program that they're trying to make, right? A lot of times, and we know this especially, is clients have a lot of ideas in their head, but they have no idea how to structure it or how to make what they're thinking about. And so one of the things you talked about is your power is you have to structure things and you have to take their brand and you have to connect it to what you're building. So when they look at it, they feel like, oh, that's what I want, right? They have to feel that connection. And then when I'm looking at what you talk about for the other side, when it's like, okay, when their client visits the website, or like, I really like the case of your grandmother, when she looks at an app, because it's so overwhelming and because it's maybe feature-based, they don't feel connected to it. It's not intuitive. It doesn't necessarily make sense. There's a disconnect there between, it may be beautiful, but they don't feel like they can be a part of it. And so one of the things that we can do is use a word like that, like connect. And then we can just kind of repeat it throughout. And then it gives someone a very strong sense of what matters to you, right? Does that make sense?
你觉得他 connect 这个字能够讲出你的这个精髓吗？就是帮助客户 connect 到他们的客户，你的客户到他们的客户 right?
Yeah, 我觉得可以，就是对我来说 ，designing and website 或者是不管是任何产品，在 design 的层次上，固然就是我们一定要有一个标准在。那最重要的目的，我们还是需要去，就像你刚刚说的嘛，我们要去 connect 到我们的 audience，甚至到所有的使用者。对，要让他们知道说这个产品能够为他们提供什么样的服务。
Another word that actually is in your original that you could use as well, and I really like that word, is curated. Because again, if we define curated, you can make the same argument. Your client has a lot of ideas. It's your job to curate how these ideas fit their brand. When someone interacts, their client interacts with the website, it should be a curated experience. It's not every product, it's not every feature or service. It's actually designed so that person can get a curated experience. It's what is there for them, right? We can use and we can choose these words that kind of really holds everything together.
And I really like the grandmother story. So I actually prefer to hear that story in the very beginning of your self-introduction.
Yeah.
I think that's a really nice touch. That just really grabs people's attention as well. Yeah. So maybe we can kind of take a look at the original self-introduction and we can see how we could make some alteration.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just like magic, with the power of editing, 我们刚刚一起呢做了这个新的 self-introduction. 那请大家等一下专心注意听刚刚我们所讲的那些特别的字，也特别就是我们的 curated. So Morris, would you like to do your new self-introduction?
Yeah, sure. Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Morris. I work as a junior user interface designer at Able Studio for about 2 years. Able Studio creates curated digital experience. What is curated digital experience? There are so many devices and digital products that don't feel personal or connected to users. They are just a long list of features and too many buttons. My grandmother recently got a new smartphone. She always calls for help because she wants to connect with other family members. But the app she uses offers too many functions that she doesn't need. This gives me the idea that devices and interfaces should feel curated and intuitive. A great UI should only have what you need. In the company, I help clients structure their ideas so they can offer a curated experience to their audience. Our clients have tons of ideas and they try to put everything on the website or app. These look messy and it's hard to understand. My job is to structure and curate those ideas into an easy-to-use interface that people enjoy interacting with.
Yay!
Thank you.
How do you feel about this introduction?
Yeah, I feel more personal, and I think the new version of this introduction does well on convincing others to believe what I can provide.
So what is the most surprising thing that you learned today? What do you think?
Yeah, the most surprising thing I've learned today is I can put more personal things in my self-introductions, not just formal words or like sentences that is hard and all about work. You can tell a proper story and your personal experience in your introductions to let people hear you and make the conversation less boring and more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I like about this also is the idea itself can be broken apart. Your self-introduction doesn't always need to be in this order and this style. You can just take that one idea and break it apart. So for example, if a client is asking you questions and being like, okay, so what makes you different than anyone else, or what's, different about your design style? You can start to take pieces of this story or of this idea of a curated digital experience and explain it to them. And just be something as like, okay, you use Line every day, right? And probably your clients will be like, yeah, I use it to cloud with my messages. And be like, it seems pretty easy to use. And they're really like, yeah, okay, it's okay. Be like, now, how do you think this feels for your parents or your grandparents? Do you think it's that intuitive? And then they'll find out, okay, Line keeps changing where my friends list is. It keeps changing how I add people. So then you can just be like, all right, in the case of my grandmother, Line is incredibly confusing. So when we design your apps, we have this in mind. Your website, your app, your interface, it should be something you can hand your grandparents and they should just be able to understand how to use it.
Yes.
So you can take that personal story and just use it as like an anecdote, as an example immediately to say what's different. The other thing that we had talked about earlier that we didn't quite put back into your self-introduction is I like how you talked about when someone goes to a website and they look at a product. The description of the product or the interaction with the product shouldn't just be a feature list or like the ingredients or like the dimensions of the product. They should feel connected to that product. So that's something that, again, depending on who the client is or the occasion, you could decide to add in or take out, right? And you can give examples. I think you guys have a weekly meeting where you show interesting websites that you found are interesting things. You can always do that. Last week I saw a website and they were selling product A. And I was shocked at when I think of this product, that website was just a total new way to think about it. And that's a lot because of the UI. So you can use these and kind of just build them in there. It really is personal because, again, within the company, your perspective is going to be different than another person's perspective. It's going to be different than even like the founder's perspective. But that means that you have a special way to look at it. So I really like that idea. Yeah, it should be personal. It's not just the company, but it's your thought process on it.
我觉得刚刚 Morris 跟 Nick 都讲得非常好的一点就是我们在做 self-introduction 很多人会先想到工作，我要介绍我的公司，我要介绍我的产品，但是自己的特色都会忘记带出来。我教过非常多的学生在做就算是 elevator pitch， 他们也常常忘记自己。所以刚刚我觉得Morris 把自己的这个 personal story 把它讲出来，其实是真的是特殊最特别的地方。那刚刚 Nick 有讲到我们虽然在做 self-introduction， 但是我们 self-introduction 东西有很多是可以拿出来变成我们的 sales pitch， 或者是甚至到 presentation。所以不是说每一个东西都是完全不一样的，其实这些东西都是可以 connected， 他们都是有相关性的。So yeah, so I really hope that you enjoyed this, and I'm sure you're not going to forget the self-introduction. Yeah. Should we test you next week, perhaps?
Okay. No.
And one thing that will happen is the more that you say this, and again, that you make it more personal, it will come out naturally. Right now, you're still trying to remember everything, so it may feel a little bit robotic. But I think the more that you talk about these pieces, you'll change words, you'll change pieces, but that core idea will be there, and you'll just find a natural way to talk about it.
Yeah, make it you. Make it Morris. So thank you so much, Morris, for coming today.
Thank you.
非常感谢。我知道这个有一点小小紧张的 experience.
对。
But really hope you learn a lot. 我相信我们的听众朋友都学到很多。So thank you guys, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye. The Executive Plus podcast is a Presentality Group production, produced and hosted by Sherry Fang and Nick Howard. You can search us on Facebook, 主管英文 Executive Plus. You can also find us on Instagram, Communication R&D, and email us at sherry@epstyleplus.com.